crisis, it has brought all the communities together.
Yes, with this type of hardship that everybody has been subjected to by the deliberate and inefficient governance by the ruling cabal, as we call it, the Rajapakshas, the people have come to the conclusion that there is no salvation for the country or the country's economy with them in power anymore. So there is this widespread cry for their ouster.
So this is the fall of grace.
Indeed it is, and nobody would have expected the Rajapakshas to fall out of grace so fast. And what is more surprising is the delusional attitude of the president himself, appearing to think that if he sends his brother home, that he could survive in office. But now the cacophony of sound from the protesters have increased, asking him to quit.
Yes.
That's the situation.
But you think, there are talks about how, Ranil could be made the Prime Minister as well. Now, we saw where the bone of contention was demanding the resignation of Gotabaya. But instead we saw Mahinda Rajapaksa resign. And now he's also announced in the terms of he will be forming a cabinet within a week or so and announcing the Prime Minister. So he's sending out a very strong message saying that he's not going to go.
No, this is why I called him delusional, because he is totally oblivious and he doesn't understand the reality on the ground. And moreover, he perhaps feels that all this trouble outside will die down if somebody of his preference is put in place other than anybody from the Rajapaksha family. Now Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe himself has been rejected outright by the people, and it is obvious to everyone that now they are turning to him in order to regroup.
One corrupt is turning to another.
Yes, the corruption is also one of the main topics that is the reason that the people want their ouster. So there are allegations against everyone, and generally there is a demand for a system change in the country. There is a, the so-called...
So will this be a lesson especially to the Sinhalese community, which contributes the majority of the vote share? Do you think, in your observation, that they will realize for the next upcoming election, what could it be based? Will it still be based on polarization, or what the people need?
The people have now come to understand that this type of polarization was induced by the Rajapaksa legacy for their own survival. You see, because this, unfortunately, after the war victory, there was this attempt by religious zealots, encouraged by the Rajapaksas, to create a kind of a war euphoria. Though the war is well past 10 years now, the Rajapaksas claim to be the victors over secessionist forces in this country. They have had this delusion that this will forever keep them in power.
So it won't be any more the Sinhalese community coming forward for the...
No, all communities, I mean the Sinhalese in particular, have come to realize that this type of deliberate polarization induced by the Rajapaksa cabal, as they now call them, they want their total ouster. So they feel that there needs to be a new approach to governance, and they also may come up with the demand that everybody submits to a common program,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
If they desire to rule, so
True.
so so everybody, all politicians are on the dock. It's not simply the Rajapaksas alone. So there is a demand for a new political culture, and this is the new Z generation, as we call it,
Yes.
who have come forth to protest, and they have done this so peacefully,
Yes.
except for the fact that there was this unfortunate clash, which was once again the work of it was virtually the parting desperate attempt by the Rajapaksas.
Right.
So that failed miserably and have backfired on everybody. But nobody condones this violence, and there is a need for us to make sure that law and order prevails, and that the country's democracy is preserved.
Sure.
So I'm sure the country and its people are resilient, and they will rise from this position to face the challenges ahead.